Hey there, my name is Kimir. I'm going to talk a little bit about my stall team that I had in Pokemon Sword back in the day. Not at all, really, because I made this just about a year ago when I played the game with my friend Velo. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through these here. So, unfortunately, Scoliopede's movesets have changed. And I think I did it. I'm not exactly 100% why I did it or whatever, but I'm pretty sure I could change it back. But yeah, it has the focus sash so that it can sometimes last even another turn, and it's able to get an extra speed boost in there before I switch it out that the enemy might not have seen. And as far as the stat spread here, wanted it to be really, really fast and to have pretty decent defense. And it has a decent amount of HP. So the original, like the moveset, if I was going to be using it, I'm too used to using the PS2 controller here, but yeah, I think there should be a consistency between controllers here. But anyway, so Toxic it had originally, it did not have Venom Drench originally, didn't have Double Edge, didn't have Mega Horn, although it works okay, I guess, as a moveset. I don't know. I'm kind of was experimenting, I think, with it, and I had Protect. And then it knew that one move that boosts your defense a lot. My brain is drawing, can't figure out exactly what that is. And then it did have Baton Pass, right? And that's the whole point. It would be in the team, so I would definitely have to change it. And so the idea would be it comes out, it's really the beginning Pokemon for the team. It comes out and it's going to get the speed boost no matter what. If I Protect, it's not going to take any damage. It's definitely going to live. It's just going to, that first turn, it's just going to gain more speed. And it's probably going to go first because, again, the speed is really up there. And then it would hopefully use Toxic. It would be able to boost its defense. That'd probably be the second thing I would do in most cases, is boost the defense. And then Toxic them if I could. And then they think I'm going to die, but I don't. And then I get like 3 or more speed boosts or something. I Baton Pass. So that's kind of the way that Scoliope works as the opener, as the way I intended it. So there to build the speed, there to weaken them with the badly poisoning, able to Baton Pass and give that defense to someone else after probably getting rid of one of their Pokemon. Would have to alter the team if I knew it was someone that has a Steel type that they're going to send out for starting out, or a Poison type, because that's the weakest point of this beginning strategy, is that Toxic would be ineffectual if that were the case. So let's go ahead and we'll move on to the next one here. I'm going to go right to Ross-Pharaoh, because I really look at him as the next. These are really the stallers, and then the way I look at this is there are stallers and there are spinners on my team, and I'll get into what a spinner means later for the uninitiated. So we're going to look at Ross-Pharaoh, the Ferrothorn. So it has leftovers, right? So it's going to be able to gain health, defense up the wazoo. Didn't at all care about the speed. with the thought being that Scolipede would boost the speed enough that it really doesn't matter that it has crappy speed. It would be just like average speed at that point, right? Iron Barbs is going to inflict damage when they do a physical attack. So they're going to take a little bit of extra damage they might not see. And then the whole point here is to like buff it up with something I can baton pass it with, so that it has better defense, better other different stats that I'll get into later. So Toxic is obviously as a stalling strategy. You can see that that's really there. And then the spikes and the Stealth Rock are there to set up the spinners, which I'll get into later. But that's to make sure they really get punished for whoever they send out next and whenever they send someone else out. And the Leech Seed plus the leftovers can tend to make the difference in a lot of battles. I've tested this team pretty thoroughly. I don't think it's like the best team ever, but it's a pretty good one. And so Leech Seed is really nice because you're getting that extra health and you're taking some of their health, plus you're getting extra health from the leftovers. So you're getting a pretty decent amount of HP back, plus the defense is way up there. And so he's meant to be the main staller on the team. They're really going to have to stall, I would hope, when we get to Rossfero. And I'm really going to have the time to lay down the Stealth Rocks and the spikes. Because, you know, you have to lay down, I think, is it 3 Stealth Rock? I'm pretty sure that's what it is, for it to do the full amount of damage. And, you know, when they can send out their next Pokemon, they tend to take like half of their health is gone. You know, with Rossfero, it can be really nasty if I get it going. But again, downside, biggest downside I see to Rossfero, really, really badly weak to fire. Just really, really badly so, because Steel type, they're weak to fire, Grass type, weak to fire. So 4 times weakness. But if I get the HP up there, or not the HP, what I mean to say, the defense, right, up there enough, or their accuracy against me is down that low, they're probably not going to hit me. And even if they hit me and I 4 times and nothing's really stopping it, all that extra defense means he really doesn't take as much damage as you would think. He'd be able to at least survive 1 really powerful fire attack. Like, I would figure he'd be dead right away, but because the defense is really up there, he can last even in that worst case scenario sometimes. So this is yet another staller here. The name is just like a really shortened kind of form because I couldn't spell it all out. It means Scavenger of Sorrow, really Scavenger O Sorrow. It references a death song that's called the same. And so that's why it's called that. It has Sharp Beak on there. So it's going to boost those flying type moves. And we'll look at the spread here. So really, really high defense is really one of the main things I was looking at here. Honestly, pretty good stats. HP is really up there. And then special attack speed, those are pretty average. They're at least average. They're not, you know, really lacking. Overcoat protects it from, you know, sand, hail, weather effects that do damage, basically, which can really make a difference. Sometimes it's really contextual, but it is its hidden ability. And then we'll look at the moves here. Fly, Attract, Payback, and Toxic. I'm really happy with how this Pokemon turned out. It can die somewhat easily sometimes, I will say. Like, it's not as good as I would hope it to be after testing it a lot last year. But I think what really makes it stand out is Attract. If I can get Attract to work, that can be really devastating to their team. And I can just sit there and obviously I think you would know kind of what the idea is. I'm going to Toxic you, and then I'm going to stay here and fly every other turn. So every other turn, you can't even hit me. And then when I come down, you're probably in love with me. So you're probably, you're probably not even going to hit me then. So I'm probably going to get away with not taking any damage 2 times in a row, and just keep going through cycles of that. And then payback is going to do double the amount of damage if they go before me. And I'm really slow. That wasn't... Hold on, I'm going to go back for a second and just... I'm not super slow, but I'm not amazingly fast. So I'd say in a lot of cases, they're probably going to go fast. They're faster, they'll go first, right? So that's why payback is there. Because then I can just do like 100 power worth of damage and it has 100 accuracy. And it also gives it some type coverage. So something different offensively that it can do. So that's Scavenger of Sorrow. Really happy with this Pokemon because I've not done much stall teams. This is the first stall team I've ever done. Let's go ahead and look at... And I'm going to read this correctly. I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Drifloon is how you correctly pronounce this one. Okay. So this is obviously a Drifloon. The special attack is really up there. The HP is ridiculous. The defense is pretty good. The attack is pretty good. The speed is good. So really good stat spread. Aftermath. So they're going to damage the attacker after they kill Drifloon. They're going to take some damage that they might not have seen. And then also with the Barb's ability of Ross-Pharaoh, they can really start to deal a decent amount of damage that you might not have seen coming as the person I'm against. I'm also really happy with how this one turned out, because I hadn't really figured the full foray of different moves that let you go away for a turn, right, and then come back the next so that you can stall. And so Phantom Force is the stall move for my Drifloon. And then we have Stockpile and Minimize. And I mean, Stockpile is really nasty if I can get it going, because I'm going to gain more defense every time I do it, and I can do it up to 3 times. So it already has this much health and pretty good defense. So if I build up enough, then you're really going to have a lot of trouble taking it down. Even if it's critical hits or it's super effective, it can take a while. And then, I'll start out, if I'm using this, I might start out with this one initially, depending on what's going on. Or I might switch to it right away. Because Minimize is really nasty. The idea is I would just sit here and minimize probably at least 2 turns, so that you're missing me. And I have a lot of health, I have a decent defense, right? So I'm probably gonna last, right? And I'll at least get my minimizes off, I've noticed, at least 1. And then I'll be able to just baton pass. And it'll be so much more annoying to deal with Ross-Pharaoh when you can't even hit him half the time. But if I can, I will build up the Stockpile, is the next kind of order of operations, what I'll do with it. And, ideally I would fully minimize, I'd fully Stockpile, then I would just baton pass. And this one can really devastate you if I have Ross-Pharaoh with maximum stats from this guy given over to him. Or I guess her, this girl. Because she is a girl, that's why she has the name she does. Well, then you're not going to have a good time of it, are you? So that's my Drifloon. I'm pretty happy with that. And so now we'll get into the spinners, as I would call them. And by spinner, I mean it's a Pokemon that's going to roar. And so they spin their team around. And so they just get sent out. Different Pokemon get sent out, and they can't really do much about it other than like take their turn if they go first and hit me with something. So we'll look at Aerodactyl here. This is Airy is the nickname. And with this, we wanted to be as fast as possible. That was probably the main consideration here, because if I go first, that means I roar first and you're not going to have a turn, and goodbye, you know. So that's the biggest thing to have in mind here. Defense also, I wanted to be pretty good. And then the special attack is pretty damn good too. Or excuse me, attack is what I'm trying to say. The special attacks, it's good, but it's not like the attack is. And then on Nerve is the special hidden ability for Aerodactyl, and I don't know, I find it kind of useless as far as what I'm doing with this team, but I don't think its other ability was really that much better. So Iron Head, it might make them flinch, so that's also a stalling kind of thing that Airy has on top of mainly being a spinner. Fly also, if I need to just kind of try to take a turn and see if I can do something with having that stall. And then Rock Slide is also going to maybe make them flinch, gives more type coverage with having that flinch still going on. And then of course Roar. And the idea is like we want to cover, you know, a lot of different typings here, because I'll be spinning out to this one, I'll be spinning out to that one. And again, the ideal setup is Rossfaro kind of has had his turn after baton passing stuff to him, and he's done pretty much everything he can. He has all the spikes, all of the stealth rock down. And so then I'm going to spin you. I'm going to sit here and just roar, roar. And when your Pokemon comes out from the roar, they're going to lose about half of their HP if I have all of that up there. And then I'm going to sit there and be like, okay, are you weak to anything, or can I take you out in one hit? And then might try to take you out with Airy. If not, I'm just going to sit here, roar, 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 and you're just going to take damage, take damage, take damage until you can take out my spinners. And so my other spinner is Arca Ninetales, which I'm really, again, really happy with this, how this one turned out. This was a Mew Glitch Arcanine that I traded over. It has the Rocky Helmet. So if they hit me, they also take extra damage. So again, that's a theme of this team, is that I want to also try to punish you by giving you damage you might not have seen coming that really screws you over. So you can, on top of the barbs, you know, on top of everything else, there's also the Rocky Helmet here. And let's look at the stat spread here. It's pretty evenly across the board, other than I wanted it to be really fast. That was, again, with the spinner, it's really important that it's really fast. That's one of the most important things. Attack is really up there. Defense is at least 200, which is what I really try for with pretty much everything in the team. I want to at least be able, because if you're stalling, right, you're more defensive. That's the point. It has its hidden ability because it's you know, traded over from Gen 1. Being hit by a dark type move boosts the attack of the Pokemon for Justice. Has 294 attacks, so let's get into the moves here. So Burn Up is not a physical attack, and I kind of went back and forth for a while. I couldn't really decide what did I want to give it for a fire type attack, because it's just kind of a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you have that same type attack bonus? Why would you throw that in the garbage? So then I came across Burn Up, and so it has 130 power, 100 accuracy. And so while it is special attack, and it's not going to be as powerful with Arca Ninetales, here's the catch. After using this move, as I'm sure you can read, I'll no longer be fire type. So maybe I'm sitting here and I'm roaring, right, as I'll get into these other moves, but let's just go to roar for a second, and out comes, you know, a water type, and I'm just like, oh, really? And, you know, they're sitting there like, I'm faster than you. you know, I'm going to kick your ass. Well, maybe they get one hit off and it does a lot of damage, but then I burn up, or ideally I'd be fastest and I would just burn up. And I would do 130 power worth of damage to you, and it's not going to be super effective, but it's going to hit you pretty hard. And the main thing for me is you're not going to be able to damage me as much, and yet you think you will be able to. Like, you'll sit there as the player, I would imagine, in the worst case scenario, and you're just like, I wish I could switch out, but if I switch out, whoever I switch out to is going to take half of their health away, probably. So I'm better off just sitting here dealing with the fact that now I have an Arcanine that's not even weak to water-type moves. And, you know, as far as the other moves here, let's get into it. Roar, obviously it's a spinner, it has to have Roar. Play Rough is really nice. It can do a decent amount of damage, good accuracy. Reversal is there because Arcanine Tails is more so for the end of the fight. I'm at the end of kind of the process of what I've outlaid to you here, and now I want to last. So as my HP is going away, Reversal is going to become more and more powerful. So if I have like 1 HP left, it's going to be tremendously powerful. It's going to hit every single time. It's never going to miss. If I'm going first, you're going to be dead. Unless you're a ghost type, I can't hit you. Unless you're a fighting type, it's not going to be super effective. It might not take you out, right? So that's what Reversal's for. Because a stall team is really, it's a war of attrition. It's about lasting a long time. It's like a Magic the Gathering deck that has Outlast, right? It's meant to just keep lasting. And I mean, I'm really happy with Arcanine Tails. Sometimes it doesn't perform as well as I'd like it to. You know, it can die kind of easily. Let's go back to the stats one more time here. You know, it's not the best defense ever. So it can die kind of easily, and that's probably one of the biggest downsides I would say to them, is that they just cannot last as long sometimes. But the Reversal can really help make that work out a bit better. And I think I'm, you know, really trying to think of putting like one more spinner in my team, I think is what I'm really, with the Scolipede, I was just thinking as I would test it, I'm trying to remember best I can here. So, you know, I would send out Drifblim, and that would work out better for me most of the time, I would feel like. And Scolipede became kind of a secondary baton passer, really. Oh, and I think that this is why I have the Torchic. It can learn. 1 second, just take a second here. I think it can learn Roar. I can't remember what I'm pretty sure I want it to be a spinner on some level. Like, I want another spinner for this team, right? Like, I think that what Rossfaro can do with, you know, the Drifblim, I'm probably only going to be able to just like do it with Rossfaro, and that's why I got rid of Scolipede. Like, it makes more sense not to like baton pass, then to drift Cl 1T, and then build up stats, and then, you know, send it to Rossfaro, because then I have more room to do spinning. And I think that's what I have noticed after I tested enough, to my recollection, is that like I need to be able to spin better than this. Like, I need a better spinner. Or a spinner that has different typing, you know, because we have rock and flying, and we have, is it just straight out fire? I'm gonna have to look. Yeah, just straight out fire, right? And they both have their own different kind of weaknesses. So yeah, that's my probably the team I'm the most proud of, or whatever, or that I feel is like one of my best. It is my best team, I think, that I've made. Yeah, I would stand by that statement. I think it's the best team I've made. I've tried doing battles on Sword against other people, and I don't Gigantamax, I don't Dynamax, and I just see what I can do, you know, with that team. And the last thing I want to mention is I took out Draculot originally in like the very beginning stages, because I'm going over this right now for a year in review. In the very early stages, I had Draculot. Draculot is from Generation 4. I made it the best I could all the way back then when, I guess it was like 3 years ago, really, because I didn't play Gen 4 back in the day. But, well, you know, 3 years ago, roughly, I played that, and then I trained this to be the best that I could. And its stat spread is Fly, Toxic, Confuse Ray, and Roost is the last one. Roost to recover health. And I think I took it out primarily because it will not be able to roost if I'm doing like an actual tournament where we're going by rules and stuff. Most tournament rules won't let me have that move set with a Crobat, such as Draculot. Draculat is but yeah, that was the last one I really wanted to mention to you. I feel like I could play this game for a really long time. I just get so caught up in it and thinking about everything I've done with it. And so yeah, thank you. If you enjoyed this video or it gave you some good ideas, you're welcome, and I'm glad that it's helping you. And I guess I'll just show off for 1 second here. You know, I completed this last year. I have the all of the Pokedexes, including the expansions, completed in Sword. So I just wanted to show that off, I guess, for 1 second, because I worked very hard on that. And that's 321 hours of my life right there that you're looking at.